It's a funny thought to think you're going to leave your present life for a new life, but that's what happened to me in 1984 when I got a job teaching at a university in America, and I had some time before I took the job up, and so I thought in my remaining time in Thatcher's Britain I'd make some photographs and make some works about the country. In the next 2 or 3 episodes we'll be looking at some of those that I made. One of the first ones was this one here, a photograph of it here, which I made for what was called the National Science and Media Museum in Bradford, which had just opened, and they commissioned me to make a piece of work using Polaroids, probably because Polaroid is a scientific method of photography, and I asked me to do something about Bradford, and so I went up onto the roof of their new museum, brand new museum, built on a ring road near the city centre, and I did this. It's rather beautiful it was up there, looking at all these new roads and shapes. The problem was, on the ground level it was shite, and that's because in Britain the city centres had been bulldozed round by these inner ring roads, which completely buggered up much of the inner cities of urban Britain, even more than Hitler had. Bradford is a perfect example. But there were other things that I was asked to do. Some I did on my own, like the one of Bank Holiday Monday. But another one I was commissioned to do was by Unilever, who commissioned me to do something which featured their headquarters, which overlooked the Thames in London, and they wanted a piece about London. And so I decided to do something on London Bridge, and here it is. Here's one side of it. There's an arch. You can see on the left is their headquarters. They wanted that featured, and they've got it. And we've got people walking across the bridge, people going into the city, coming backwards and forwards in the rush hour. And underneath, I decided to hold the whole bridge up with detritus. That was rubbish strewed everywhere, which there was, and dustbins, and also homeless people. That's one side of it. The other side is here. And yeah, you can see but the images at the bottom I made by screwing up the photographs I'd taken and then sticking them down again, so they're all sort of distressed, and they were distressed in more ways than one. There were many homeless people then sleeping rough in Thatcher's Britain, even though the bankers in the 80s were doing well above. This poor chap here. Anyway, I made this piece. It was about 15 foot wide, and the finance director who had commissioned it, Cobb Stenham, he's absolutely delighted with the piece of work, and he commissioned it to go in the director's dining room, and it was installed in the director's dining room. But when I got to America about 3 months later, I heard there had been a row at Unilever about this, and the other directors, or most of them, had insisted it was putting them off their lunch, and I had it taken down, and it was reinstalled in the staff dining room, which is interesting, isn't it? London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. Build it up with wood and clay, wood and clay, wood and clay. Build it up with wood and clay, my fair lady. Wood and clay will wash away, wash away, wash away. Wood and clay will wash away, my fair lady. Build it up with iron and steel, iron and steel, iron and steel. Build it up with iron and steel, my fair lady. Iron and steel will bend and bow, bend and bow, bend and bow. Iron and steel will bend and bow, my fair lady. Build it up with silver and gold. Whether the bankers stole it away, I don't know. But I returned to London Bridge many, many years later. In fact, last year, and this book has just been published, will shortly be published, London Bridge, with London Bridge on the front. Actually, it's not London Bridge, it's the Tower Bridge. Most people mistake it for London Bridge. And it's called London Then and Now. And in fact, there's quite a lot about London Bridge inside it I've written and photographed. So I've sort of returned to London Bridge after all those years. And that's not surprising because there have been several London bridges, but it is perhaps the most important historical structure in Britain, because if it hadn't been built there by the Romans originally 2,000 years ago, London itself wouldn't be there. Something to think about.